A terrible disgrace for Juventus. Such wild fans haven't been seen for exactly 57 years. Harry Kane is moving to Manchester United, who, by the way, snatched a victory from Arsenal. Or rather, Arsenal Bandart couldn't outplay the Red Devils. The fiercest fight right on the football field, perhaps the toughest this season. A sensation in the Atletico Madrid match and a curious story from the past of Messi, which sheds light on the Argentine from an unexpected side. Oh, today's news, very hot, so more likely charge your royal likes and we will begin. Well, I wish you a pleasant appetite and a pleasant viewing. Saudi Arabia club is hunting for one of the best Barcelona footballers, and this hunt has been going on for quite a while. Last summer, Al Hilal offered the Catalans 100 million euros for the transfer of Rafinha, and it seemed that the management agreed to let the footballer go. But then the Brazilian himself came out with a categorical refusal, not wanting to leave the club of his dreams for a league that serves as a haven for football retirees. Although he was offered very pleasant financial conditions. To everyone's surprise, Rafinha became one of the revelations of the season. He turned into a mental and game leader of the Catalan team and proves it with his statistics. He already has more than 40 goal actions, and there are still many matches ahead. Nevertheless, Al Hilal has not yet accepted defeat in the battle for Rafinha. This is what the Relevo publication claims. This summer, the club from Saudi Arabia will try again to sign the Brazilian. They say that the conditions remain the same. But if Rafinha refused a salary of 15 million a year earlier, what will make him change his mind now? Therefore, it seems to me, the offer should increase at least twice. In such a case, the Brazilian might consider moving. However, now Barcelona will not just be a bystander. The leadership of the Catalans wants to keep one of the main driving forces of this team and intends to re-sign Rafinha on improved terms. Rumors say his salary will be one of the highest in the club. There is currently an active campaign among the Blue-Granites to retain their leaders. New agreements have already been signed with Pedri, Gavi and Araujo. Negotiations are underway to extend Rafinha and De Jong. Also, this summer, when Lamino and Mali turn 18, they should sign a new agreement with him. So Barcelona is benefiting from a return to the one-to-one rule, not dispersing attention to buying new players, but focusing it on maintaining the backbone of this team. Such a policy can only be praised, as this squad under the leadership of Hansi Flick brings Barcelona success on all fronts. So far, the club has not won anything, except for the Spanish Super Cup, the winner of which is determined in 2 matches. But the chances of a big trophy this season are great, so losing Rafinha would simply be foolish. But still, Al Hilal is one of those teams that have the resources and arguments to fight for the best footballers in Europe. The tragic news that shocked Barcelona on Saturday evening forced the team to cancel the match, and both Osasuna and Barcelona decided to postpone the meeting. Now the question arises, when will the Catalans be able to hold this match, as their busy schedule practically does not give them the opportunity to do this during the regular season? If Barcelona continues to perform successfully in all 3 competitions, the match could be held after the end of the season in La Liga. The Catalans simply do not have free slots for it, but it's hard to imagine. It's improbable that league management will take this action. And Barcelona will have to somehow get by or drop one of the tournaments to avoid falling into a slump. The only correct interval seems to be the week between the 37th and 38th rounds of La Liga. There will be no matches in other competitions, nor will there be an international break. This only means that the Barcelona players will have to approach the potentially decisive and difficult away game against Atletico with a set mind. Regardless of how they hold the match, this issue is not imminent. Now all thoughts in the Catalan club are devoted to the family and the close deceased doctor. Even the principal rivals in the face of Real Madrid could not pass by this tragic event. The club expressed condolences over the untimely death of Carlos Miñar Garcia. Real Madrid Football Club, its president and board of directors deeply regret the death of Barcelona's doctor Carlos Miñar Garcia. Real Madrid would like to express its condolences and support to his entire family, teammates, Barcelona and all his close ones. Rest in peace. Mbappe, the upcoming Madrid player, was among the first to react to the sad news from Barcelona. He expressed condolences on the death of Garcia. In yesterday's issue of Dose of Football, I said that he was only 40 years old. Apologies for the misinformation, those were incorrect details. According to verified data, Carlos Mignar Garcia was 54 years old. But this fact does not make what happened any less tragic. Lionel Messi has a reputation as a humble and kind man, who is alien to scandals. However, even legends have their dark episodes. While he rarely confronts in clubs, in the Argentina national team, incidents occur from time to time that make you wonder if Leo is really so harmless. Remember the match against the Netherlands in the World Cup 2014, where Messi unexpectedly showed aggression towards the respected football figure Louis van Gaal. His legendary phrase, "Kumeras Bobo," addressed to Wout Weghorst became a hit and also raised questions. And now it turns out that Leo also has tense relationships with his national team partners. Leandro Paredes recently revealed he didn't speak to Messi for 3 months due to a phrase said during a FC Barcelona match. It seemed like a trifle, but the consequences turned out to be serious. I said something to a teammate, but Messi thought it was about him. After the match, I tried to explain, wrote to him several times, but he just ignored me. We didn't talk for 3 months. It was awful, admitted Paredes. The player even feared that because of this, he would not make it to the World Championship. After all, Messi's word in the team is law, and if he singles someone out, it's unlikely the coaching staff would go against him. Only 3 months later, when Paredes returned to the team's disposition, the ice melted, Messi amiably nudged him, and the conflict was resolved. In the end, they didn't just become teammates again, they together conquered the gold of the World Championship. But this case once again confirms that even the greatest have moments when emotions take over. Though if you are constantly under such public pressure, it's not surprising. Even going to the toilet is not possible without annoying camera flashes. What kind of peace is there? Juventus is seeking to bolster their squad in the upcoming summer transfer window, aiming to rectify past errors and improve their current situation. Yesterday, Ederson's name was buzzing in the press because of his talent, but the Brazilian is too in demand and he will most likely be taken by a more ambitious club. However, the Turin club has an intriguing backup plan, and they are negotiating a major exchange that could help two players rediscover themselves at once. Last summer, they made a serious investment in the center of the field, paying a large sum for Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. It was expected that the Brazilian would become a key figure in the midfield, but this move turned out to be a failure. Luiz battled injuries, failed to cement his squad position, and eventually lost drive. Now he is seriously considering the possibility of returning to England, where things were much better for him. Soroki is ready to provide him with such an opportunity, but in turn they suggest replacing their player, whose career has unfolded in a similar scenario. Sandro Tonali's speech. In Milan, he was considered one of the most promising midfielders in Italy, but after moving to Newcastle, his career sharply declined. At first it was very difficult, the adaptation went on, then the Tonali scandal broke out. They caught him in football betting, and this led to a long disqualification. Upon his return, he no longer looked like the same player. In Italy, he could score 10+ points in the goal plus pass system per season, but in England, his effectiveness dropped significantly. And now it becomes obvious that both footballers could not adapt to the new environment. But can they restart their careers if they return to familiar conditions? This is precisely the point of a potential exchange. Juventus and Newcastle are considering an option where Tonali will return to Serie A and Douglas Luiz will try once again to establish himself in the APL. At first glance, the deal seems logical and beneficial for both sides. However, there is one nuance: the personal life of Douglas Luiz. His girlfriend is not thrilled about the idea of moving to England, and this could become a serious obstacle for the transfer. In any case, this is one of the most desirable exchanges of the upcoming summer, which can return both players to their former form. The only question is who ultimately benefits more from this deal, Juventus or Newcastle United. Fans in the stands have whistled at Real Madrid, and supporters on social media have called for Carlo Ancelotti to be benched. And this happened after the victory over Rayo Vallecano. So what caused such a negative reaction? Let's figure it out. Madrid started this trip very cheerfully. It was visible that the hosts wanted to put a quick ball, but their opponent didn't like such a delay, and they held the defense, but only until a certain moment. In the middle of the first half, Vallecas gave a weakness, which was exploited by the attacking Real. It was Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. who were the players who lost the match against Atletico. Now they have become the main heroes of the team. Both goals were scored, thanks to the strong sides of these two. First, the Frenchman quickly moved into the open space and smoothly made a turn from a close distance. Then the Brazilian dribbled past half of Rayo's defense and struck almost from the same spot as Mbappe. Both strikes were effective. The Royal Club gained a comfortable advantage, which guaranteed them 3 points, but it's never easy against Rayo. Even in the face of serious personnel problems, this team is ready to wage battle against any opponent. Towards the end of the game, Rayo recovered one ball after a strong strike by the midfielder. Lunin couldn't do anything about it. And the intrigue is back again, in the match. Rayo tasted blood, and it seemed that the teams would deliver a goal spectacle in the second half, as it was in the first leg. But Carlo Ancelotti made an unexpected, but probably logical decision. He gave the initiative to Rayo's players and asked his subordinates to drop back so that the opponent could not take advantage of the fast attackers. Why is this a logical step when the scoreboard shows a slim 2-1 advantage? It's all about the next match against Atletico in the Champions League. There's no point in tearing your hair out when you're satisfied with the result. But Ryan was not prepared for the initiative to shift to him, and he didn't know how to handle the power. As the final score showed, Ancelotti made a healthy decision. He saved energy, and Madrid was 3 points ahead. Only the fans didn't like such passive football. As soon as the referee signaled the end of the match, they booed the departing players. In the comments under this news, Spanish fans were also unhappy and called for Ancelotti to be fired. But specifically in this episode, I disagree with them. Sometimes it's worth showing healthy pragmatism to avoid unpleasant consequences in a fit of passion. Raya would have been happy to play at the meeting courses. He was used to performing second, but Carlo Ancelotti acted wisely and deprived the guests of this opportunity. The match between Atletico and Getafe turned out to be truly dramatic. But if you turned it on at the 75th minute, you didn't miss anything. Up to this point, the teams didn't create anything at all. Together they accumulated only, just think about it, 0 whole and 1/10. And the meeting resembled a sleepy spectacle, but the ending turned everything upside down. The first explosive moment was the penalty kick by Getafe, and it was one of the most controversial decisions of the tournament. The ball really did hit the defender's hand, but after a ricochet from his own goalkeeper. And it seems it wasn't heading towards the goal. In modern interpretations, such incidents are not considered penalties. Even the authoritative Portal did not see a violation here. But this did not confuse the referee. He pointed to the spot and Sorlo calmly executed the shot. However, this goal did not help the athletes score even a single point. Soon, the mattress makers were left in the minority. Angel Correa received a straight red card for a rough foul, hitting his opponent with his studs on the shin. Well, then the formal circus began. While the Argentine was walking to the stands, he loudly expressed everything he thought about the main referee. Uncensored words were said, including a mention of the referee's mother, and all of this was recorded in the protocol. Now Correa faces a severe punishment, much harsher than the sanctions against Jude Bellingham, whose words could still be interpreted differently. The Argentine just lost it, and the disciplinary committee will certainly not pity him. It's quite possible that he won't play again this season. The expulsion was a signal for Getafe. The team understood it was now or never, and threw all their strength into the storm of the fortress. In the end, Mauro Rambardi scored a double in just 5 minutes and brought his team a sensational victory. Atletico is losing crucial points and putting their championship ambitions in doubt. Yes, the gap from Barcelona is only a minimal 1 point, but Atletico's play does not look like a team capable of fighting for gold. And if he continues in the same spirit, then at the end of this season, he will be forced to fight not for the title, but for a place in the top 4. Officially, there are still 10 rounds left in the English Premier League, but in reality, the race for the title is practically over. The gap between the first and second place is too large to talk about a real fight. Arsenal needs a miracle. Liverpool confidently continues winning. In this round, Arne Slot's team dealt with Southampton and took another 3 points, while Arsenal lost points, playing a draw with Manchester United. And the Londoners can consider themselves lucky, because if there were penalties after draws in the Premier League, Ruben Amorim could officially be declared Mikel Arteta's master. The Portuguese team looked much more convincing, but Arsenal were helped by the successful play of the goalkeeper and plain luck. In the end, the Gunners somehow clung to 1 point. But this is a weak consolation against the backdrop of their current crisis. What do we have? Arsenal is currently 15 points behind Liverpool with a game in hand, but it doesn't matter much. The Scousers have a full squad, excellent form, and nothing indicates that they are about to lose momentum. Arteta faces issues as Arsenal lacks a central forward, which is evident in their gameplay and inability to secure victories. For 3 rounds in a row, the Gunners have lost to West Ham United, played a draw with Nottingham Forest, and now have drawn with Manchester United. And ahead is a single game against Chelsea, where there are also no guarantees of success. The question now is not whether Arsenal will catch up with Liverpool. The chances of that are ghostly. The question is different. Can Liverpool fail the end of the season so much that they lose the 15-point gap in the Gandhi Cup? Arteta insists his team will not give up despite it being hard to believe. And that of course is correct, but given the personnel deficit, Arsenal should reconsider its priorities. In the Premier League, the Gunners have practically lost their chances for the title, but in the Champions League, it's a completely different story. There, the trophy can still be snatched. And perhaps it's worth focusing specifically on this. An unforgettable match occurred in the Austrian Bundesliga yesterday, which rarely garners global media attention. The meeting between Hartberg and Rapid was marred by chaos, which put the game at risk of being abandoned. Police stormed the guest sector, fans fled onto the field, and even innocent bystanders were hurt as a result. The incident began before the game started. Police say it was a routine document check and a ban on banners. However, the fans took this as a provocation. They were used to harsh treatment at away games, but this time the tension reached its limit. At first, it was limited to verbal skirmishes, then the situation got out of control. When the ultra groups started to resist, the police deployed tactical units. At some point, the security forces literally stormed the guest sector, clashes began, and the fans were trapped. Some of them, to avoid beatings and detentions, rushed onto the field during the game, interrupting the match. The referee, seeing the chaos beyond the stadium, decided to postpone the start of the match. According to the Sports Control Agency, the riots resulted in casualties, including active participants, spectators, the elderly, women, and children. While the ultra supporters were fighting with the police, they didn't notice that their actions put their own fans at risk. Despite all this, the football match still occurred, though the sport itself was overshadowed. And for Rapid, it was another disappointment. Their team lost with a score of 1-2 and now hangs on the brink of falling into the relegation group. The same group of teams battling to remain in the league during the latter part of the season. This incident could have serious consequences. The question is not only whether sanctions will follow in relation to the club and fans. Inevitably, safety concerns arise at Austrian championship matches after such incidents. The football authorities will give their reaction, but only after carefully listening to both sides. Juventus fans have long believed the club is heading the wrong way. Even they could not predict such a historic humiliation. The Turin team didn't just lose, they were humiliated in front of their own fans. A 0-4 rout from Atalanta, the biggest home defeat in the championship in 57 years. The shameful crushing began with a penalty. On the 19th minute, Matteo Retegui coolly executed the shot from the spot. Juve found himself in the role of the pursued. During the break, fans were already whistling, sensing an impending catastrophe. However, no one anticipated Juventus' complete collapse in the second half. As soon as the whistle for the second half sounded, Atalanta delivered a second blow. The 66th minute, Martin de Roon doubles the score. Juventus didn't even manage to get out of the dressing room, and they've already been hit. Fans are furious and players are lost, but this was just a prelude to the decade's most devastating defeat. 66th minute, Zappa Costa, 77th, Lookman, final score 0-4. Home stadium, full disgrace. Excuse me for this word that I use for the 100th time, but I have no other words. The Turin team looked beaten, without character and will. They did not resist, did not fight, and did not try to save face. This was a disgrace to Italian football. The fans couldn't tolerate it. Each new missed ball was accompanied by an increasingly deafening whistle. The fans chanted curses at the management. Management, you've driven us mad. Respect our callers. And while the team was achieving a historic failure, the stadium emptied, the final whistle, and the last chord of disgrace. Turin residents, believing in their defeat, left the stands quietly. Those who remained expressed disappointment with the team. Juventus has broken a record that stood for 57 years, but the main question is already history. Or can someone still hit rock bottom? Well, you can take a look at the historical collapse of Juventus in our telecast by following the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Just make sure to remove women and Juventus fans from the screens in advance. Not everyone can handle such a spectacle. Not only Arsenal but also Manchester United are having problems with the attack this season. The team is desperately in need of a scoring forward, because the current options just aren't working. The stark fact is that Rasmus Højlund has not distinguished himself with either goals or productive passes for 20 matches in a row. The last time he recorded a goal on his account was in early December, and it's been 3 months since then. Without any contribution to the attacking game, United placed big bets on him, but instead of progressing, he only disappoints. A long goalless streak, weak play, and a lack of confidence could all lead to Haaland being on the sales list this summer. Against the backdrop of a failed season, Joshua Zirkzee looks better, although his statistics are far from ideal. Data shows Manchester United's management is satisfied with the Dutchman's performance, despite modest results. This season, he has only scored 8 effective actions, the last of which was in a recent match against Real Sociedad. This level does not match United's ambitions, so they will seek a new forward in the summer transfer market. The names of the contenders are already known: Harry Kane from Bavaria, Victor Osimhen from Napoli, and Victor De Care from Sporting. Each of them has their own advantages, but against the background of recent news, interest in Decarescu may grow even stronger. Insiders say Shved told Sporting's management he wants to leave the club this summer. If Ruben Marama is not fired by that time, then Decarescu can quite possibly reunite with his coach in Manchester. Nevertheless, the most logical option remains Harry Kane. The Englishman has a relatively accessible clause of 75 million euros, and he also has a personal motivation that makes him hungry for goals. Kane is striving to write his name in the history of English football, becoming the best striker in the history of the Premier League. This record, as you know, has been held by the legendary Alan Shearer for 20 years. But the only person who can catch up with him is now scoring in the Bundesliga. But finally, he will take his long-awaited trophy with the Munich team and lift the curse of Harry Bestrophenog. That's all for today. Thanks for watching and subscribing. My name is Kirill Kast, and this was your daily dose of football. Peace to your house and hinge, friends.